Your next step in your project, which is dealing with stem and leaf plots. So first we want to talk about what a stem and leaf plot is. And a stem and leaf plot is that a way to display data to show frequency or how often a number occurs, and it involves breaking your numbers into a stem and a leaf, which is nice when you have a two-digit number. Now a back-to-back stem and leaf plot is going to be a way to display data that this shouldn't say to display again, and compare two similar sets of data. So let's go ahead and cross that second piece off. I apologize. Now we're going to take a look at our first example here. We have the test score for Mrs. Smith's first hour were the following, and test scores for Mrs. Smith's fourth hour were the following. Now notice this is the exact same example that we used in our last lesson. We're just using it for a different purpose. And we're talking today about constructing a back-to-back stem and leaf plot so then we can use it to analyze. So step one is going to be, you're going to make 3 columns and put the first digit or first 2 digits if you have a 3-digit number in the middle column and in numeric order going down the column. And so we're going to do that in just a second. So then step 2 is to put the last digit beside the column with its first digit in numeric order going outward from the middle column and space it evenly. That is very important. And the final step is going to be to create a key for each side. So if knowing these steps, let's go ahead and take a look, and I'm going to change the view so you guys can see a little bit better. Just make my life a little bit easier when we're looking at our scores. So when I look here, I see that we've got everything from the 40s to the 90s. So what I'm going to do is in my stem and leaf plot, I'm going to put 4, a 5, a 6, a 7, an 8, and a 9. So those are my stems because I have 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now I'm going to go ahead and put my data in, and as I do that I'm going to take into account and cross these off so I don't forget them. So my first one in first hour, I have a 42, and so I'm going to put a 2 nicely evenly put out here. Now I realize it looks backwards, but that's because we're going to the left side. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to my list and I'm going to cross off 42 so I don't use it again. Now I also see I have a 48. So nice and evenly spaced, I'm going to put an 8 down here. And then I'm going to cross 48 off. And then I've got, my next one I see is 59. So I'm going to put a 9 next to the 5. And then I see that my next one is a 71. So I don't have any 6s, so I'm going to put a 1 under 70. And then I also have a 74 and 2 78s. So I'm going to put a 4 and 2 8s. And then under 80s, I've got 2 87s, so I'm going to put 2 7s. And then I have a 97, so I'm going to put a 7 under 9. Now if I want to go ahead and make the key for this, let me scroll it up a little bit, is I can say then that, for instance, I'll start with the one that if I have a 2 and then a line with the bar and then the 4, that this is going to be equal to 42. And it's just letting us know that it's backwards. Now then I can go to the other side. So I'm going to switch up colors here. And I see when I look on my screen that I have, oops, I didn't mean to scroll that up for you. I have my lowest score being a 53. So I'm going to go ahead and put in a 3 under the 5 and then I can go ahead and cross that off. And then I see that I have a 67. So I'm going to put a 7 under the 6. And then I see that I have two 78s. So I'm going to put two 8s under the 7s, nice and evenly spaced. And then I have an 81, an 84, and an 88. So I'll put an 81, an 84, and an 88. And then under 90s, I've got a 96, and a 95, and a 99. So I want to put 5, 6, 9. And then underneath the key, I'm going to make sure that I put, for instance, that 5/3 is equal to 53. And this just emphasizes that you understand the different sides of the back-to-back stem and leaf plot are going to be different. Now, the next piece is going to be to compare the shapes of the plots. And so when we do that, the first step of that is going to be to notice which row has a lot of data values, not many gaps, and also to make note looking for the mode, and also being able to calculate that median and the low value and the high value. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to make some comments about this. So I notice that in first hour, I see that we have a low value of 42 and we have a high value of 97. And I'm just kind of making comments on things I see. Now, one thing I also notice is that there's a gap in the 60s because there's no values there. And I also see that most of the data is in the 70s to the 90s. And if I were to go through and calculate the median, which I can show you how to do it on a stem and leaf plot, but it's easier if you're given the data to do that first. The median is going to be 78, and I see that this is bimodal in that the mode is both 78 and 87. Now on the other hand, for fourth hour, I see that we have a low of 53 and a high of 99. And this data, if you look at it, I'll scroll back up so you can see it, it's kind of skewed. It's skewed to the high side, that the higher the numbers go, the more numbers we see. So therefore, I'm going to make note of that it is skewed to high values. And I apologize for my atrocious handwriting. It's skewed to the high values. I also notice that if I calculate the median, that's 82.5. And the mode, this is a single mode, and we have a mode of 78. So when it says to you to compare the shapes, that's kind of what we're looking for.